Let's get the conversation started. Navigating financial management in an inflationary economy, strategies for business resilience and growth. My guest is seated. He's a business expert, a real estate expert. He has so many feathers tied to his cap. I have Caleb Akpasiobi in the studio. Good afternoon, Caleb.
Yeah,
Hope
good
I pronounced that well.
Yes.
Akpasiobi.
Yes.
All right. So let's set the part straight.
Okay.
We've been battling challenges of inflation lately. It's been climbing, standing at 34. Sometimes around late last week or early this week, they said it has fallen down a little bit to 33. But we can't celebrate 34, 33. There's nothing to celebrate. The margin is much. It climbed from a number, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, before it got to where it is.
Exactly.
In the UK, the former PM was voted out actually, not like removed, because their inflation was standing at 9%.
Wow.
9%. They felt it was too much.
Exactly.
But here we are in Nigeria battling 33%. They had to tell Rishi Sunak, you have to go. They voted in someone else, Kestama. But so how do we navigate? What are some of the primary drivers of the Nigeria's current inflation from your expert perspective?
Okay, basically there are two major things that drives inflation. First of all is the devaluation of the country's currency in itself, because immediately the currency is devalued. What that happens is it drops the purchasing power of the currency. So you realize that there's a particular kind of product that you would be able to buy with a particular amount
of money,
probably 3, 4, 5 years ago. Now you would need more of that money to be able to buy that same product. So what that means is you need more money to buy a product, you know, compared to what it was before, right? So that's what we call the devaluation of the currency itself. Then secondly, the production cost, right? So, and you know, Nigerian economy majorly is driven by a lot of importations.
Absolutely.
You know,
we're not a producing nation, basically.
So most of the people who does production need to, you know, import the raw materials. And what happens is if the prices of what you are using to import a raw material, let's say 5 years ago, the price is more today. At the end of the day, when you finish the product, you know, after the production process, you realize that you will finish at a higher rate or at a higher cost, you know, and that would definitely tell on the pricing when you push it to the market. So cost of production also increases the inflation rate, basically.
Okay, so cost of production, that's the starting point. Now, how does the inflation itself specifically impact small businesses, those who are trying to grow? You know, if you check through the Nigerian system today, we have more of petty, little business. People just try to do something to keep themselves busy. How does this really have an impact negatively on small enterprises, whether those coming up, whether those that are at the average level, the MSMEs, micro, medium, small enterprise, basically?
Okay, you know, when it comes to inflation, it has a major impact on SMEs. Why? Because, you know, when there's inflation, a lot of people have less disposable income. What that means is the amount of money they have to, you know, spend to dispose will actually definitely reduce. So the only thing most people will want to do at that point is to only use money for stuffs that, you know, basically impact on their daily living. So they will want to definitely reserve the, you know, the cash they have available. So what that means is it will definitely impact on SMEs. Why? Because, you know, they will have less people patronizing their businesses. And looking at SMEs, especially those ones that are growing, sometimes they may never have enough money to do real marketing, or they may not have enough money to do all of those billboards, you know,
and all that, coming from advertorials and all that.
So the little, you know, customer base that they have, a lot of people or their customer base will want to still restrict the amount of money they dispose to whatever product or service they want to give to them. So that will reduce their income drastically, and they find themselves in a survival mode. And if care is not taken, a lot of them can
pull out of business. They fall out of business.
It affects SMEs very well.
A whole lot. Okay, now let's look at another one. Some of the intermediate step, or rather what could be some intermediate step that can be taken to mitigate the effect of the rising cost of inflation, maybe cost of production, and like you painted at the beginning,
Yeah.
importation. We are not a producing country. We
Exactly.
depend on importation, and you have to pay forex higher. You have to source a forex and all that. So, what could be some of the intermediate steps businesses can take in order to mitigate this inflationary cost?
Okay, as a business on its own, you may probably not be able to affect the entire inflation,
Yeah.
basically. So what you can do from your end is, basically look for other means why your business, how your business can make more revenues,
Okay.
right? You need to look at different streams of income. Probably you want to enter into more markets, right? Or
Yeah.
you want to create more product around
Around
what
you.
you are doing. For example, if you're into, you know, maybe you make shoes, leather shoes and
Yeah.
all of that, you want
Yeah.
to look at, okay, the same people who buy shoes can actually also buy bags, leather
Okay.
bags. So
Okay.
that is also a market on
Yeah.
its own,
Yeah.
because some persons spend more money in buying bags even more than buying shoes. So you want to create more market, you want to create more product, right? So that more income can actually come into your business. And secondly, that is pretty much an internal, stuff you can do.
Yeah.
Now you can also do external, mitigation by probably investing in other industries, right? By leveraging on other industries. And like I always teach people, there are basic industries that does not have, they hardly get issues or have issues during probably recession or inflation. And these are industries that people, patronize on a daily basis, like food industry,
Absolutely.
like transportation. No matter how
People,
bad
no
the
matter how
economy,
bad the
you
economy
must
is, people
move.
must eat and they must
Right.
move.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Like utilities, you
Yeah.
must pay bills,
Bills.
airtimes, and what have your
True.
health, right? You must
Yeah.
take care of your health. So
Absolutely.
with that, you
And you
can
must clothe yourself as well.
exactly. So you need to also leverage into other industries.
Yeah.
So those can help you hedge against some of these inflations, and you can also be afloat even in the midst
In
of
the midst of
inflation.
the inflation and all that.
Yeah.
Okay, so can there be any explanation to the concept of cost push and demand pull inflation and how each affects businesses differently?
Okay, now when you talk about cost push inflation, cost
Yeah.
push inflation is when the cost of supply of a particular product
Yeah.
or service is high. Like I already said before,
Yeah.
you know, for you to supply a product, there have to be a production process first.
Absolutely.
So if
True.
the production process is much,
Yeah.
the definitely the supply of that product will be high.
Okay.
So what that means is immediately the supply is high, the price will definitely go up,
Go up.
right? So
Yeah.
because you need more money to supply that product, so you have to also be in business. So you need to increase the price of that product.
Yeah.
Now, on the other hand, the demand can actually, when the demand of a particular product is high, based on the people who need
A
this,
particular
yes,
product. Yeah.
this product, when the demand is high, you realize that the price will definitely go up. That's
Go up.
general economics, right? When demand is high and supply is low, price will go up, right?
Definitely.
So if there's a starving market
Yeah.
for a particular product and the product is scarce,
Yeah.
right? So that will increase the demand of that product. So indirectly, prices must go up, right? Because everybody wants to acquire that product.
Yeah.
So whosoever is producing that, that product would definitely want to increase the price
Yeah.
because of the demand.
Because of the demand.
Yeah, so that's, is also what triggers inflation as
Inflation.
well.
Okay, let's look at the importance of business trying to adjust to pricing strategy in inflation. Because when you get to know that there's inflation, there's automatically a change in price, just
Yeah.
like you've painted. Businesses trying to adjust into high pricing during inflation. Is this something that ought to be, or is it not supposed to be a situation whereby we're trying to tackle inflationary pressures, then prices ought to a little bit lower down? Just like we're seeing now in the price of PMS, popularly called petrol, it's not available. Yeah, we know, but
Yeah.
the price has gone up, has skyrocketed, even in the midst of the challenges that has been faced lately by Nigerians in terms of food and other things.
All those things, yeah.
So is it that their businesses try to make adjustment in order to remain afloat, or is just some greeds, can I call it greed now, that calls for the high increase in prices?
Okay, when it comes to increasing price
Yeah.
of a business, you cannot undermine that. Why? Because let's say, for example, you run a business that uses fuel.
Yeah.
You know,
Almost all businesses today use
exactly.
fuel. Almost
And almost
everybody
all
does.
business uses power.
Power,
Now, so
exactly.
if the cost of power is high, right, it will definitely affect, your processes,
Okay.
right? So, and is a must. You must definitely want to increase the price, when you are relating with the end users.
Yeah.
All right. So, but what I recommend is for you to increase your price strategically
Okay.
so that you can still gain customer loyalty. Right.
Exactly.
So now, what are the three things? There are three basic things you can do when you want to increase your pricing. And it will be a mistake for you to just come up one day
And just
and today
raise the price.
there are certain people I've actually done business with. Maybe I I do a transaction with them yesterday,
Yeah.
only to come tomorrow the
Tomorrow.
prices have gone up.
Okay.
Next tomorrow,
They
just
just
like
keep
that. It
adjusting
doesn't
it.
really make sense. So what you need to do, or what a business needs to do, is three things. Number one,
Okay.
if you want to increase the price of your product or your service, first
Yeah.
you would need to look at, okay, how can I increase the quality of what I
What
am
I'm
currently doing,
yeah, absolutely.
right? How can I increase the quality, or probably my delivery processes?
Yeah.
Just add some little bit of value. That's one. Then two, also, let your customers know ahead of time. So if you want to increase your pricing, you would need to probably send an email, or maybe, within the next few
Messages.
days, send messages to especially those your customers that are very loyal to you. Let them know that, see, because of this, we are looking at increasing our pricing probably in the next 2 or 3 or 4 days, so they will
Yeah.
prepare their
Their
mind,
minds.
right? Then thirdly, you can also create offers.
Okay.
So while you increase the price, create offers that people can also take advantage of
Advantage
within
of.
that period.
Yeah.
So if you can successfully do these three things, price increase would not irritate your customers. Rather, even when the prices go up, they will still be loyal to you.
Okay. Amazing, amazing analysis you're giving right now, and
Okay.
it's getting more interesting. Now, how can we now say businesses? How can businesses effectively manage their cash flow to stay afloat, even in the midst of high cost of production and the inflation in itself generally?
All right. Cash flow in itself, it's you understanding income and expenditures.
Okay.
So that is cash flow. Like the word implies, flow. So
Flow.
there's a flow
Yeah,
of
you have
cash,
to move.
income, and so you need to look at what is coming in and what
And
is
what is
going
going
out.
out?
Right. So looking at what is coming in, one of the things you need to do, or you can do, is increasing your customer base. So if probably you have, let's say, 50 customers, coming into your business consistently, you want to look at how can you make more money. So one of the things you can do is, okay, you do more marketing, you do more, strategically reach out to more people so that you can increase your customer base, and that will definitely increase your income, right? And also, reach out to your existing customers for them to create or give you recommendations. For
Okay.
example, I'm actually into real estate.
Real estate here.
For instance, there are certain people that I've sold properties to that I can tell, okay, do you have one or two or three persons
You
in your
can
contact
refer. Yeah.
that you can refer? And I can even tell them, oh, I'm going to give you incentive for you to do that
To do
referral.
just to do
Right.
referral to you,
Sure, you
and that will
get.
actually boost them to.
In fact, I've gotten so much people who have done referrals,
Yeah.
and I've closed a lot of sales through
Wow.
that
Through
channel.
the channels.
Right? Why? Because I needed to also leverage on the people that they know.
Absolutely.
Right? So that would increase my income.
Yeah.
Now, in as much as I want to increase my income, I also need to look at what are the things that are most important in
Yeah.
my business that I'm spending money on. Like I always tell people, money is never enough, right? But money will
Economist
always
said it that
be
human
enough.
wants is insatiable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Money is never enough, but money will always be enough to
Okay.
do the things that are most important. So
Absolutely.
you must now start doing some, prioritizing your expenditures. What
What
are the
and what?
things?
Your to-do list.
Yes, what are the things that may not directly impact on your business, even when you spend money on them? Those are those things you definitely cut down. So if you can get your income right, and also get the way the money leaves your organization or your
Yeah.
company
Yeah.
right, you'll be able to tame your cash, right? So, and from there, you can, even in the midst of inflation, you can
Absolutely.
still be doing so well as a business.
All right, now look at what are the financial tools and instruments that businesses can leverage on in order to protect themselves against inflation. Could there be
Okay.
some tools or
Yeah.
instruments to avoid being hit by so much of inflationary pressures?
Okay, basically, as a financial expert,
Yeah.
I always recommend that your business should have a budgeting system,
Okay.
right? Because your budgeting would definitely have your income statement, and how much you can increase your income, and
Yeah.
also control your expenditures as well,
Okay.
right? Then you can also look at your record keeping
Yeah.
tool, right? So why the record keeping tool is very important is so that you can always do, analysis at the end of the month. What are the things that we spent money on as a business? So definitely there are things that will reflect there that practically may not be so important.
That's true.
Yeah, that you would want to look at, okay, for next month, we don't need to spend this much,
Yeah.
so that we can retain a whole lot, back into the business.
Business.
Then finally, you can look at investment tools, right? Right. So investment tools helps you edge against inflation. Like I said, you can leverage into other kind of investment
Yeah.
that you playing in other industries,
Yeah.
that can also be in business even when there is inflation.
Okay.
So you can look at, real estate, you can look at, the health industry and several other kind of industries. So that's what that means is your money can keep growing in inflation, right? So that even when, there's so much of increase in pricing and all of
Yeah.
that, you can also retain the value of whatever amount of money you have as a business.
Okay. So diversifying in the midst of inflation, when you try to, this is what you're doing, but you try to say, okay, let me go out a little bit. Does it sustain?
Yes, diversification in a business is sustained, but you also need to be very careful when
Okay.
doing that.
Doing that.
Why? Because you don't diversify so much to affect your current business. Because your current business, your current business is more like your source,
Yeah.
right? So when you want
That's
to
like
look
the
at,
base.
that's like the base.
Okay.
And I always recommend that before you go into diversification,
Yeah.
build a base first,
Okay.
right? So that even when other businesses that you are trying to diversify into may have one or two issues, you
Issues.
know
You
that
still
your
have
base
something, your
is
base is
still
very
strong.
strong.
Yes. So for me, if, for example, I'm into real estate and I have other businesses that the finance or the money I make from real
Real
estate
estate.
help me diversify into
And so
other
other
areas.
things.
But
But the
I
base
cannot
itself,
diversify
it's
so
the real
much
estate.
that I affect my real estate
Yeah,
business. So
true,
there's
true.
always a volume of money
You
I
can
can
move
let
out.
out from my business. So once that volume is not there or is not enough for an opportunity that is coming my way, I will let the
You just let
opportunity
it
go, because
pass.
why? This is a business that I've built over time and I
Absolutely.
need to sustain it.
Okay. Now let's talk about maintaining customers' loyalty in terms of price increment, because we talked
Yes.
about the whole price increment
Yeah.
initially. But do you think it's wise to maintain still? Do you think customers will maintain loyalty in the midst of price increment? Because you see some persons, once they come to you and you tell them the price have increased, you won't see some of them again. They'll be
Yeah.
like, they cheat me. They'll just have that notion of mindset. So could there be any way to maintain or keep customers' loyalty even in the midst of inflation and price increment?
Okay, now people don't really buy things because of pricing
Oh yeah.
practically. They buy
Okay.
things because of the value that you're willing
You're
to give to
giving
them.
to them.
And every person by design, wants to pay for a product that they feel like they are cheating you. So what you need to do is not just to increase the price. First of all, you need to add more value to whatever you're currently doing, right? Probably in your delivery process, probably in the way you treat them and all of that. So when they get more value and you are telling them that, oh, the prices have increased, it makes more sense. Then, you also inform them, because people want to always feel important. They want to always
Absolutely.
they want to have that feeling that or you are aware
Yeah.
that they are currently doing business with you.
Yeah, true.
You're right. They don't just want to give you their money consistently and you don't care about them. They want to know that, see, this guy cares about me practically. So when you pre-inform them about the pricing, oh, they feel so much important. And of course, in whatever medium you want to use to communicate such pricing increments, you
Yeah.
would definitely carry why you are doing what you are
Doing what you're
doing. So
doing.
they would definitely want to reason with you because they are also in the same economy
Yeah.
with you practically,
Yeah.
and also use price increments to create offers,
Absolutely.
right? So that even though you are telling them that the product that was 50,000 is now 80,000 naira,
80,000.
you can also create an offer that, okay, if you buy 80,000 naira, I'm going to give you this as an extra value, right? So they would want to listen to you, and of course they would definitely go for it.
Okay. Now, what could be some long-term strategies that can be used for businesses to remain resilient, even in the midst of inflationary pressures? We see some once they are tied with inflation, the next thing is they pack off.
Yeah.
You go there tomorrow, they tell you the person is no longer here, we can no longer continue and all that. Could there be any long-term strategies to be put in place in order to scale through, no matter how tough or how hard it may seem, just like we are currently? Because really, things are biting harder.
Yeah.
A loaf of bread is now sold for 1,500, 2,000 naira, depending on
Exactly.
the type you're buying in some places. And this is what we used to buy, like maybe 400, 500 back then. So, could there be any long term strategy that can be used to put in place, even in the midst of inflation and inflationary pressures, to remain afloat?
Okay, one of the long-term strategies you can use is inventory strategy,
Okay.
or you can call it stocking strategy. For
Yeah.
example, you run a business or you run a production company, right, that needs a particular kind of raw material for you to continue production.
Yeah.
So what you can do is, based on the trend of the economy, you
Yeah.
can perceive that, okay, within the next 3, 4, 5 years, the cost of this raw material can, definitely go up.
Yeah.
So what you need to do is to stock a lot of the raw materials. As a matter of fact, JP Morgan Bank did a statistics or a research, and they realized that, mid a lot of
Yeah.
mid-sized companies in the US was able to scale through, inflation. Why? Because they used the inventory strategy.
Strategy.
So they needed to stock some of their products ahead of time, so that when they need those products or those raw materials for production, they don't need to pay more, right? So at the end of the day, they will even make more money. Why? Because they will still be selling at the
And the
current price.
current price will be more than what it was.
Yes,
Yeah, I
right.
get, I
Because
get.
but what they use in
In buying
buying
it was a bit
what is
lower.
it was a bit, so that's a long-term strategy,
Okay.
you can use to stay afloat
Afloat.
regardless of inflation and what
Yeah.
have you, and also leveraging on technology.
Exactly. I was going there as my next question. It's
Yes.
like you were reading my mind. Okay.
Yeah, so you can always leverage on technology.
Technology.
Looking at the rise of technology today,
Yeah.
now
AI
what
coming on stream, to
exactly? So
GPT, just name them.
I can tell you. So what that does is, it reduces the manpower
Power.
or the labor that you would need to,
Like the
employ
physical
people to
labor.
work. Yes, for example, there are some basic apps today you can use to do graphic design.
Yeah, true.
So you don't need to pay a graphic
Graphic
designer.
designer.
There are basic apps you can use today to edit videos. You don't need a
To pay
professional
professional
video
editor to
editor.
do it for you.
Yeah,
At the
so
comfort of your home, you
you
just
can
sit
just with
back
your
at your bed
smartphone
and just be
and
doing your
what
thing.
have you, even
Yeah.
taking videos. Years ago, for you to want to shoot a video, maybe for us that are into real estate, we
Yeah.
need to carry a videographer there, to cover the site and what have you. But today I can get a very good smartphone, do all my coverage, right,
Put
and
everything together.
go back to my house, use my video editing software and upload, and it to come out at least to an extent. People can
Extent
understand
close
the
to, yeah, the
message
message you're sending.
that I want to pass across. So with that, I've cut down a lot of costs that would have required me to hire, manpower to do the work, right? So technology is a major transformational tool, long-term tool that a lot of businesses can also use.
Can leverage on.
Yes.
Now as we begin to wind down because we're pressed for time, let's look at the government part of it.
Okay.
Could there be some part, the role of government in terms of policies, whatever the government can do to make sure that people in business remain and stay afloat? Because no matter what, if the environment is not friendly,
Yeah.
your business cannot thrive. A country that is facing military coup, for instance, where people are being killed, like a country like a place like Gaza right now. I don't think any
Exactly.
business is going on
It's
there.
going on, yeah.
By October 7th, it will be 1 year.
because of the chaos.
the chaos that has been there. So could there be any government policies basically that businesses can get, whether small, micro, medium, policies of the government that can help them to grow and improve on a daily basis?
Okay, basically, because of the subject that we're currently talking about, inflation,
Yeah.
there are various government policies
Policies.
that can be done to reduce
The inflation in
inflation.
itself.
Right. So, because once the inflation is reduced, every other businesses are going to be fine. Right.
Absolutely.
So, there are three basic things that the government can do. First of all, they can actually increase rates
Yeah.
rates of loans, people
Okay.
borrowing loans from the bank. So
Yeah.
once they increase the rate from CBN,
Yeah.
what that means is our local banks here will definitely increase the rate. So what that
That's the
would
commercial
do,
banks and
yes,
some of
it
the
will
microfinance banks and all that.
exactly, it will discourage people to
People
want to
to
get
get
loan,
loans.
and immediately people reduces how the way they collect loans from the bank. What
Yeah.
that means is the cash in circulation would
Will
reduce.
reduce.
So once the cash is reduced, it will definitely reduce inflation. Why? Because people don't have so much money to spend anymore.
Absolutely.
So even though your product is expensive, you'll be forced to bring the price down so that you can make sale, right? So that is one. Then two, the government can mandate the local banks or the commercial banks to have cash reserved,
Yeah.
so that individuals can actually make a lot of withdrawals, right? So once a bank has cash reserved in
Yeah.
itself,
Yeah.
what that means is it discourages people to want to collect loan as well, because they don't have enough, because of the policy that you must leave money in the bank.
Absolutely.
You would not be able to give money out for people who wants to lend
wants to
money
lend
from the
money from
bank
the
and
bank.
all of that. So that will also increase the cash circulation, and it will also reduce the inflation. Then finally, the government can actually come up with policies and say, okay, fine, let's increase the interest rate on bonds.
Yeah.
Right. Now, once the interest rates on bonds are actually increased, more people would rather want to give the government the money,
Yeah.
other than taking the money to the bank. So immediately they want to give the government the money so that they can get interest on their money. What that means is the government is trying to tame money out of out of circulation.
Yeah.
So what that means now is the cash in circulation. So the whole strategy is to reduce the cash in circulation. So once the cash in circulation reduces, it will definitely create pressure on those who have fixed a lot of high prices on their products, and they don't have an option. They would definitely reduce the price. So that's how the government can create policies around reducing inflation.
Okay, as we begin to wind down, because I'm already getting signal from my presentation director that we're pressed for time. As a real estate expert, a business coach, a financial and wealth management expert, your concluding thoughts, your take on how people can stay afloat, whether businesses, whether homes, people are finding it very difficult even to have 2 square meal a day.
Yeah.
Your final thoughts as we wrap up.
Okay, my final thought is, first of all, for you to really be successful in things of finance, whether business or whatever, you need to gain financial intelligence.
Okay.
That's the basic. In fact, if you come into my space, one of the things I first of all do for you is to take you through financial education classes, right? Because if you cannot think well, you cannot do well.
Absolutely.
Right. So
you have to begin with your thoughts,
exactly,
your mindset.
Exactly. So it's not a function of how much you can blow, but how much you can grow. Right. Because if you grow, you will stay up.
Absolutely.
But if you jump up, you will come down. So it begins from your mindset.
Absolutely.
For example, there are a lot of people who come to me and tell me, oh, how can I, I have so and so amount of money, how can I invest, or how can I do this in business? The question I ask them is, the reason why you can come to me is because you believe that I have what it takes to guide you.
True.
So instead of you looking for how to invest the money, why not just invest in yourself? Personal development, understanding financial, stuff and what have you. So that is basically what I always recommend. So if you start from there, every other thing will definitely fall in place. Why? Because your financial destination can never be separated from your financial decisions.
Wow.
All the decisions you are going to make on your finances will always lead you to a destination. So if your decisions are right, you will definitely get to the right destination. But if your decisions are wrong, you will definitely get to the wrong decisions.
Financial destinations
can never be separated from your financial decisions.
Caleb Akpasubi, thank you very much for
Thank you
your
very
time
much.
because we need to go right now. I've been getting so much insight from my PD that we're pressed for time. I really want to appreciate you for your
Thank you
time.
very much for
Pretty sure
having
with
me.
time, when we'll have more opportunities, we'll come around, talk about all of these happenings, and get insight. Thank you very much for your
Thank you.
time.
I
And that's how
appreciate it.
far we can go on the show this beautiful afternoon. It's been a great time, Devin, looking into how you can navigate through inflationary pressures to remain afloat, whether as a business or as a home, whatever you're into. And Caleb has given us so much insight into the show.